Hi everyone! After 7 months of work building this container house that I'm currently in, I'm currently sweating in. Because it's 40 degrees, the house isn't insulated and I'm basically in an oven. So, well, I realized that with the right tools, you make progress much faster and much more easily. That may sound silly and obvious to you, and you probably think it is, that I was an intellectual before trying to become a handyman, but you still need to know which are the right tools to buy before you actually need them. Because I can guarantee you that if I had known which tools to buy back then, I would have saved hundreds of hours of work. So now that I know about these tools that saved my life, I want to share them with you. And to give you a list of the 10 essential tools on a construction site. Hi, I'm Julian Malara and this is my house. Container. I'm 26, have no do-it-yourself experience, but challenge myself to build an affordable, eco-friendly house. I'm also trying to develop my resilience and live in harmony with nature. I'm filming everything for this channel, so subscribe to follow the adventure shows. I'm right in the middle of building my container house, so that means two things. First, all the tools I'm showing you are essential, in my opinion, and for my use. But I think that no matter what type of home it is, they're pretty much essential. And secondly, I'm only at the very beginning of my construction, so I don't know all the tools that exist yet. There are certainly plenty of great tools that I don't know about, so let me know in the comments. That will help me with the rest of my project, and I can include it in the next video I make. The 10 essential tools at the end of my project. Alright, I suggest we start with the most affordable tools and finish with the most expensive ones. But a little advice first. I learned the hard way that it's never, ever worth it to buy entry-level tools. Because you have a house to build actually, so you're not just going to use it 2 or 3 times. You're going to use it very often throughout the whole construction, even if you can't imagine it yet. You'll be using it all the time. So get good quality, it's actually worth it. Yes, that's a message to my past self. Julian, stop buying crappy parkside stuff. And second tip, most hardware stores give you up to 6 months to return items you've bought, as long as you haven't opened them. So buy just in case, buy the tools in case you need them. Because there's nothing worse than being on a job site and not having the right tool and thinking, damn, I should have bought it. No hardware store is nearby, so I have to stop today and go tomorrow morning before coming. No, buy it just in case and return it if you don't need it. You'll save a lot of time. And we'll start right away with the tool that we're always looking for on a job site. Has anyone seen the tape measure? The tape measure? Have you seen where the tape measure is? Yeah, the tape measure. Where is it? Where's the tape measure? There it is, the tape measure. Yeah, it's definitely the thing I look for the most on my job site and the thing I use the most on my job site. It's pretty handy because it has a magnetic tip. And that's cool when you have a house made of steel walls. It's not always the easiest tool to measure with, especially when alone. For 30 euros, I suggest that we set it aside and buy the 2022 version A laser measurer. I really like lasers. It might sound like a gadget, but it's an essential tool that will save you a lot of time and will be more accurate than the traditional tape measure. Super easy to use. For example, I want to know how many meters the camera is from me. There you go, you're less than 1 meter away from me. Turns out we're closer than you thought. Let's continue with the second tool. Once again, because I love lasers, this is a tool I would use. I wish I'd had this from the start of my project. It would have made my cuts much straighter. I present to you for 40 euros the laser level. You love lasers, right? Don't you? When you're building a house, you'd like it to be pretty straight, right? Or at least not too crooked. So what do? If you're smart, buy a bubble level. If you're really smart, buy 2. If you're very smart, you buy magnetic bubble levels. Because on a container house, magnets are life. There you go, you get it. But on a container house, the walls are made of corrugated metal. So the bubble level is pretty annoying, sometimes even unusable. So for 40 euros, really, buy a laser level right at the start of your project. You'll need it for straight cuts, floor adjustments, and hanging items. Electricity is expensive, it keeps getting pricier, pollutes, harms the planet, but saves us lots of time. That's exactly why it's so hard for us to do without it. Sure, I could have bought a manual stapler, but honestly I had 8 carpentry pieces to install. So, with rain barrier to put on the oriented strand board tunnel. I'll let you watch the video we made on this topic if you're interested. Although it might come out after this video. Subscribe to stay updated. And I would also have a rain barrier to staple all around the house, plus a lot of other things to staple as well. So, for 65 euros I got this electric stapler. It saves me a lot of time. And on top of that, it's very, very satisfying. Fourth tip, buy screws. Yeah, no, but screws for screwing in? You didn't get me. Let me put it another way. Buy all the screws, okay? For 16 euros, you buy an organizer with at least 30 compartments. You take the top 20 compartments and you fill it up for me with all the screws of all lengths, all sizes, all diameters, for all materials. It will cost you about 80 euros for the screws and it will save you a ton of time. Especially if you don't have a hardware store nearby. Because you see, I made that mistake myself of only buying the screws I needed. On a job site, you'll often encounter surprises and need to improvise. You'll always need a longer, shorter, bigger or smaller screw. And if, like me, you only bought the screws you needed, well, when you face a problem, you'll only have one option, yourself. And at the risk of repeating myself on a work site, it's better to have several backup options. Because nothing ever goes as planned. Whatever your house project is, even in a steel house, you're going to have to cut tons of wood, especially oriented strand board panels. So you're going to have to buy a circular saw very soon. It'll cost you a little less than 100 euros and it's a very, very handy tool. There's not much to say here, except that I bought the circular saw from the brand Evolution because it was the only one that was provided. It came with a cutting disc that can cut both wood and steel, making it very practical for my project. To make things easier for you, you can also buy a cutting rail or use the mason's square and clamps to guide your circular saw and get nice straight cuts. Personally, I didn't need one because my circular saw already had a built-in rail. It lets you cut up to 30 san, which was plenty for me. So that's it, I just stuck with that. But I have a container house, so I mostly had to cut steel. So my main tool, the one I use daily on the work site, was my 125mm grinder to cut the walls that separate my containers, to open up holes, to install my windows and doors. I used cutting discs. And that's it. I made a whole video on this subject. By the way, if you're interested, if I change the disc and use a flap disc instead, that will allow me to sand both metal and wood depending on the discs I use. And honestly, that's really useful all the time. Let's say you've made a cut. You sand the sides, the edges, to keep them from being sharp. You've made a cut, but it's missing 1 millimeter. You sand it a bit and you trim the sheet metal again. You have rust marks on your container or on your metal objects. A bit of sanding, you want to reduce the size of a screw. A bit of sanding, you want to weld a part. So you need to prepare the metal before you can weld. A bit of sanding. Really, my grinder, you see, I use it more often for sanding things than for cutting things. A good corded grinder will cost you about 100 euros. Try to get one that's over 1000 watts so it has enough power. Most importantly, get one with an anti-vibration handle. It's essential, not a luxury. Add 50 euros for flap discs and cutting discs. That way, you'll be prepared for anything. Why did I pick a corded grinder over a battery-powered one? Because a battery-powered grinder is more expensive. It's heavier because of the battery, it has less battery life, and it's less powerful. And actually, it suits me very, very well. A corded grinder. So there you go. Even if your house is single-story like mine, you'll often have to work at height. Usually a stepladder or step stool is sufficient, but nothing will ever replace the comfort of using scaffolding. Before I started working, I thought only professionals working on multi-story houses or buildings could use scaffolding. Then yeah, I didn't know much about it, so I typed scaffolding on the Euro Merlin website and there, tada, for 190 euros I can buy myself some scaffolding. Well, yeah, because actually, and it's not a crazy thing, but it's super practical. It lets me work up to 4 meters high on a platform, so it's really, really cool. I can even adjust the support bars to the right height, set my grinder on it, and cut straight lines much more easily. Anyway, I use it all the time. It's like my best friend at work. He's a bit bulky, but that's fine. Alright, I'll put this away. Let's continue with a tool that I don't even need to introduce to you, the drill driver. Like in the screws section, I won't insult your intelligence by explaining it's essential just because it lets you screw and unscrew. No, I'm going to go a little further. I recommend buying a quality drill driver, especially in the case with all the possible drill bits and all the possible screwdriver bits. That way you'll have more options. Once again, when faced with a problem, the more choices and options you have, the better you'll move forward with your project. I went with a complete Makita kit for 240 euros with 2 batteries. That allows me to never run out of charge. And above all, even though I have all the drill bits, all the possible bits, I bought a lot of extra drill bits in advance. Especially the small diameters, because they break really quickly. And once again, nothing is worse than having to stop on a job site because you don't have the right tool anymore. So there you go. I bought a lot in advance. And above all, I bought a really good brand of drill bits because you'll save time. They'll break less and stay sharp longer when drilling. Once again, it's always more cost effective to buy good quality tools without necessarily buying the most professional ones out there. But even if you have a good power screwdriver, I still recommend spending 20 euros on some basic screwdrivers, both Phillips and flathead. First, because it will allow you to screw in screws that require a lighter touch or sometimes more force and that are also more fragile. And then you always need a flathead screwdriver to open something, to use as a lever, to use with a hammer, or to push something. So, I'm explaining to you that a screwdriver is useful. I know many of you already know that. Maybe I'm stating the obvious, but I made the mistake of not buying a screwdriver at first and telling myself, well, I have an electric screwdriver, so what's the point of having regular screwdrivers? Well, actually, there is a point. They're handy for many uses and cost around $20, so get one. Now, let's cover other key tools like the arc welding machine. Personally, I bought this welding machine, GISSYGISS, because it's the brand of the electrodes, the brand of the mask. It's a reputable welding brand with 160 amps, allowing me to weld metal up to 10 mm thick, and I paid 210 euros for it. If you want more information about how all this works, why I chose this specific model, how it works, I made a video about it. The link is in the video description. Like with everything else, I made this mistake. So I learned this lesson and I'm sharing my feedback with you. Buy electrodes of all sizes right away so you can weld metals of all thicknesses because you'll actually be using them all the time. To weld the containers together, to weld reinforcement posts, to weld the brackets that hold your carpentry, to weld all the brackets that will hold the cladding. You're going to have to weld a lot of things, especially on a container house. So, buy a good welding machine, buy all sizes of electrodes, and then you'll be all set and you'll be able to weld even in 40-degree heat. And that's really a feeling. And we'll finish with the last tool, the one I wish I had known about. Earlier, the one that would have saved me hundreds of hours and would have spared me blood and tears. The English saw. That's really the tool I made this video for. It's a saw from the brand Evolution, just like the circular saw, because it allows me to cut wood and metal, and that's really awesome. That's all I asked for on this job site, actually since the beginning, and nobody told me that this existed. And you're going to need it, no matter what kind of house you're going to build. You'll need rafters, battens, and steel tubes. For reinforcements, you'll need oriented strand board. To cut shims whenever you have something that needs to be cut straight, or even at 45 degrees, because the miter saw can also cut at 45 degrees, it's the ideal tool. For example, if this board is too big, I want to cut it to 1 meter, so I use my tape measure. This time the laser measure isn't the most practical. There's a small laser below that displays the distance. There we go. I'm at 1 meter, I lock my piece in place and I cut it in. 2 seconds I measure. Straight, clean, precise, fast. I love this tool. I just wanted to show you. Ten tools, so I intentionally left a lot aside. For example, the compressor, clamp, and other interesting tools. But I might show them to you in a future video. In the meantime, you can leave a comment with the tool you find the most amazing, the one that saves you the most time. Maybe it will give me some ideas and help me with the rest of my project. And then, when I make a video at the end of my construction to present you with part 2 of the 10 essential tools, well, I'll have material to show you. I know it's a lot of money and that banks often refuse to finance tools. But believe me, with good tools, you can do quality work much more easily and much faster. And that's what a construction site is above all. It's about managing time. And even if you don't have a job, if you're unemployed, if you have time, that's not true. There's never enough time to do everything on a house, so saving time is the top rule. I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next part of the container house construction. This was Julian Malera. See you very soon. Next step in the container house build, Julian Malera. See you soon.